This episode is presented by Lost Bell Wines. Rebranding from one of the oldest wineries in Nova Scotia, Lost Bell is bringing a new twist to classic wines.
The Lost Bell Rosé is sure to be your new go-to refresher with a gorgeous pink color and deliciously simple taste and finish. If rosé isn't your thing, their Saval or Baco Noir will be sure to thrill your taste buds.
All of their wines are handcrafted in Falmouth, Nova Scotia by their wonderful winemaker, Tony. Kick back and sip the flavors of the valley with Lost Bell Wines by Saint Fimi.
Welcome to the morning meeting with Sarah and Jess,
where the tea is hot, the wine is chilled, and no topic is off limits. Pull up a chair and join us. There is room for all of you here.
We won't limit seating, we'll just build a bigger table. Let's begin today's meeting.
Hi, Margaret.
Hi, Cathy.
Hi, Jess.
Hi, Sarah.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Hi, Margaret. Welcome, Mom.
I'm a little nervous. I won't lie.
Oh, this might be our most important guest we've ever had on the podcast.
Well, thank you for having us.
Oh, thank you for joining. It's our
It's
pleasure.
about time, Margaret.
You've been waiting for the invite.
Yeah.
Our listeners are very excited that you two are joining us around the table. They have some fun questions for you. So in honor of Mother's Day, we couldn't imagine doing this episode with anyone else but our lovely moms. Look at you two. You're like twins over there.
People often say that.
Yes, they do.
That we look very much alike.
You really do. I have to take a picture because
Just
look
like
at you.
sisters.
You do look like sisters.
When I worked at the daycare, I was a student placement or whatever it was. I had my hair cut short and it was really dark. And from like people would think that I was her from behind, like if I was like washing the tables or like, you know what I mean? Like, cause otherwise like I'm super tall and she's shorter.
Yeah.
People would always be like, Margaret? No, it's me.
Yeah, I see why.
And everyone, since Sarah has her hair dark,
Yeah.
everyone says, "Oh, she looks more like you."
Yeah.
My hair is dark brown. Well, medium brown, I guess.
Since I dyed my hair dark and wear glasses,
Yeah.
I get more
Yes.
of you. But growing up, it was always my sister
I mean, that
was
like
so
Yeah.
much more like Mom.
Yeah, I can
Mhm.
see that for
Yes,
sure.
I can.
Yeah.
I can see that.
Yeah, it's funny. Well, Jess, should we do our official intros?
Yeah, we have to introduce our mamas.
We do.
So my mom is Margaret Burke, and she works at Town Daycare as the executive director. I feel like a lot of people listening will probably know who you are because either their kids go to the daycare or they have gone.
Mhm.
And how long have
Unbelievable.
you been there for? Did you say 40 years?
Over 40 years.
Over 40.
now.
So you started as a student,
Wow.
didn't you?
I started as a summer student with Town Daycare, and I worked a couple of summers, and then I was hired shortly after I graduated from Teachers College with my early childhood education, and I stayed.
Oh my
I
God.
worked as a head teacher for a number of years, and then the a position of executive director came up, and I was almost encouraged to take it. I really loved being on the floor and doing what I
Mhm.
did. And but I, felt that a lot of people really wanted me to try to go for that position. So I did. And
And now you can't get out of there.
now exactly.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
amazing. I saw
Mhm.
you in action, Margaret, at one of Logan's birthday parties, and all the kids, like all the parents were scrambling, trying to get them to listen or to like come in for the food or whatever. And then Margaret walked in the room and they were all like, whoop, like do everything Margaret says. It was like a superpower. She just wrangled all the kids and got them settled. It was incredible.
Mhm.
So
That's so
sweet.
funny.
And Jessica, tell us more about Margaret. So she's your mom, but you also have a sibling.
Logan's Nana. And yes, so I have a sibling, brother,
Mhm.
Ryan. He's 3 years older than me.
Mhm.
How old's he then? 30,
35.
35. Yeah,
Mhm.
geez. Ooh,
Mhm.
God, we're getting up there.
Mhm.
And he's mom's favorite.
That's not true.
It is mom.
That's not true.
We'll just let's just say this on the podcast. Let's just be honest tonight.
The
okay?
sons are the favorite. It's the same in our
it's-
house too.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
No such thing as a favorite.
That's
That's
BS.
what you
Not a
say.
favorite. You
BS.
just did different things with I know I don't have a favorite.
Like literally, my mother thinks the ground my brother walks on is paved with gold. He does no wrong. He's perfection.
Must
I
be
think
that-
my mom paved the road my brother walks on with gold for him. Like, so different.
Well,
Whatever.
in my parents, the men, that the rule in our house was the men got fed first. My
Oh, my gosh.
father, and then not just her sons, but her sons-in-law
Wow.
fed first.
Yeah.
Like it was more important that they got fed first, then the women
No.
could fend for themselves.
We're changing that, my friends. We're switching that
I
around.
have a story
Yeah.
about that too.
You do?
Yeah.
Tell
Mhm.
it.
Well, when we got married, Aubrey and I, we bought my mother's house and she lived with us. So both of us worked. Mom retired. So she
Mhm.
would have supper ready for us when we got home. So we'd sit at the table, you'd go and dish up your supper. And she used to say to me, "Aren't you going to dish up Aubrey's supper for him?" I said, "No, he's big and ugly enough to dish up his own supper." "Well, he worked hard all day." And I said, "Well, what did I do?" Yeah, but he worked hard all day.
Mhm.
That is so funny. Like,
It
we
is
didn't give
funny.
you the
Yeah.
same
It is.
credit.
And that was the same with like my parents, but my dad respected my mother with she was the end all, but
Yeah.
that's just the way that she was.
Generation.
And she loved her sons-in-law like with all her, and loved to feed them.
Yeah.
And that's just the way it was. She didn't love the girls any less. It's just that she had the men were the most important in her
Showed
life.
it on the men.
Yeah.
Mhm. The sons and the sons-in-law.
Mhm.
She
Yeah.
just thought the world of them.
That's so funny.
Mhm.
So tell us
I-
about Cathy.
Well, my mom, Catherine, if she was in trouble when she was young, is the managing director and financial administrator of the Diocese of Antigonish. She's worked there since when, Mom?
April of 2013.
Oh, so you just had an
9
anniversary.
years. 9
Yeah.
years, yeah.
And you've been working in the nonprofit sector for over 42 years. So
My whole career.
where did you
Worked at the Cape Breton Regional the county of Cape Breton, and then we amalgamated to the Cape Breton Regional Municipality. Then I worked at the Sydney tar ponds to help clean up the tar ponds. And interestingly enough, my father worked 42 years at the steel plant, so I helped
Mhm.
clean up the mess he made.
Yeah.
Anyway, and then now I'm working at the diocese,
Wow.
which I have to say is my dream job. I love it.
Oh,
Nice.
Yeah,
that's
good.
so nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, you found your groove there for sure. It's fun to watch you in that. And you've been married to my dad, your high school sweetheart,
Mhm.
Aubrey, for 42 years. And you're the mom to me, most importantly, but also to my siblings. So mom of 4. So I have an older brother, an older sister, and a younger brother, Scott, Amanda, and Christopher. And there is 10 years between the oldest and the youngest. So in 10 years, you had the 4 of us. You were busy.
And I'm the youngest of 11.
That's right.
And my mother had babies for 20 years.
Wow.
Wow.
You cut it in
Wow.
half.
My oldest sibling was
Imagine.
20 years older than me.
Wow.
I was 2 months old the day she got married.
Well, I had them for
Wow.
4 and we're stopping there. So
Yeah.
not going to reach that goal. And grandmother to 8. So she has 8
Wow.
grandchildren and 4 grandbabies and
Fur babies.
fur babies. Yeah, sorry. And they're all here locally in a
Which is,
10-kilometer radius of you.
which is very rare.
Yeah.
And I'm very blessed.
And we don't want to forget about Dad.
No, we got to
Sorry.
Shout
Gotta
out
give Dad a
and
shout out.
we've been married. Oh my goodness, what?
I love
Think
it.
about
The
it.
brain freeze there for a minute.
I don't
Wow,
know. You're looking at me
Too
like I'm
long.
very long.
How many
enough.
years
No.
have you been
I'm
married?
trying to. I forget.
Didn't you just have a special anniversary? Like this, like past summer?
No, it's coming. It's coming up in July. We will be married. Okay, Ryan's 35. So we were married 5 years before we had him.
So your
Wow,
30-year
your 40th?
anniversary.
30-year anniversary. Yes, 30 years.
Okay, well there you go.
And we have
Wow.
a dog. Well, it was supposed to be Jessica's dog, but
I got her for my 19th birthday.
But Lily
Oh,
is our dog
By
and
choice.
She's our baby.
Yes. I
so
know.
cute.
Yeah, she's our little fur baby, and my husband is crazy about her. We both are, but he's really crazy
And
about her.
Lily's 13.
13.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
Yep.
That is
Oh,
so
little.
sweet.
Yeah.
It's funny. I think too, I don't know if people say this or not, but from the few times I've met your husband and your dad, Jess, and your brother, like you two remind me so much of one another, and they are very similar.
They're the same
too,
humans.
right? Like they're the
Mhm.
same
Copy-paste.
human beings.
Yes.
Like
Mhm.
I would see them on different sides of the room and be like, "Whoa!" Like they're
Their
built the same, and
Personalities
their
are the same
mannerisms
too.
are
They're
similar.
very similar.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And
isn't
our
that
personalities
funny?
are similar. Like we're
Mhm.
the only thing I get from my dad is his height and his big nose.
Yeah. The best parts.
He always
It's
reminds me
genetics are
too. He's
so
like, I gave
funny.
you that nose. And I'm like, oh, I know.
Oh, it
Thank
is
you
so
very
funny.
much. Yeah.
Genetics are funny like that. Like
Yeah.
Margaret, is there anything you see in Logan that reminds you of Jessica or Ryan?
Ryan, right on the
Yeah.
spot. Even the hairline, the way his hair go, he reminds me a lot of Ryan when he was little.
And Ryan was really sweet
Yeah.
as a little boy.
Mhm.
That
And
is so
he
cute.
a lot of people
Mhm.
say that he reminds them of Ryan when he was a little boy.
But does he look
Mhm.
like me?
He
But
looks. I find he looks like you too, though.
Because I
There's
find like
pictures of
Ryan and
you.
I are a lot of, we
Yeah.
look a lot.
Yeah, I think you and your brother look a
Mhm.
So
lot
I guess
alike.
it's a compliment. If Logan looks
Yeah.
like him, then he must look
And
like
then he
me.
has
right.
Daniel's dimple in the,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah. Mhm.
The Levangie for sure. That is so cute. Well, we had some really interesting questions come in, so we want to get to them. And since
Okay.
we're on the topic of brothers and sisters and sons and daughters, we'll start with those questions. So a few of them were similar, but one that I laughed at was the question came in that's asked you two if mine and Jessica's brothers, so your sons, are your favorites. So we just started that conversation. Let's get to the bottom of it. Were they?
They're shaking.
Are
their
they your
heads here
favorites?
back
No,
and
And
not-
who was easier to raise? Let's say that.
Between the boys and girls.
Between the boys and girls, who was easier to
Boys,
raise?
Definitely.
The boys,
Boys.
Ryan, definitely. They had different personalities. There was things about both of them that were challenging and things that were easy with both of them. So I'd have, but as I really
But
don't
Ryan,
have a
you found
favorite.
easier to
Yeah,
raise.
as when he was a baby. Jessica was more, she was more, I guess, maybe needy, perhaps. She was very, very,
Daniel's
very
gonna listen to this and be
shy.
like, "That is not
Daniel,
changed."
familiar?
And Ryan was just more easygoing, and but
Less drama,
she was
Margaret.
very shy little girl, and just
Yeah.
was, needed to be with you all the time. He was,
Which is
more,
shocking. That's
Yeah.
shocking to me
Well,
because I
it's
would
shocking.
never call Jessica shy.
Yeah, I'm
well,
totally
when
different
she-
now than when I
she
was.
she's totally different than when she was a little girl.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
You were shocked at the wedding. Remember when my parents were telling stories and you got back up there and you were like, "What?"
Yes, I was like, who is this person you're talking
Yeah.
about? Yeah, it was
Mhm.
shocking.
I moved to Halifax. I broke out.
Yeah, she just.
I broke free and
Mhm.
I
Broke free of
blossomed.
that shell. Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You're a
Well,
beautiful
and
flower
Ryan was
now.
more independent, and Jessica, and I love that she, like, I mean, when her and her friend Elizabeth were in grade 9, they still loved me going to the movies with them. And when other kids were
Yeah.
saying, like, "Are you crazy? Drop me off at the
Yeah.
movies." But I could still go. And the first time that they said, "We're going to go to the movies with our friends," I was really
put out.
devastated.
Yeah, that's sad.
Yeah.
You say less dramatic, Mom?
Oh yeah, the girls had way more drama in their lives. Boys were just feed me, clean, not even clean me.
Yeah.
They just existed, but the girls.
yeah.
there's
Sarah,
so
do you
much
feel a
fluff
sense
with
of
the
relief
girls.
right now?
A little bit. A
What?
little bit. Yeah.
What'd you say?
Do I feel a sense of relief because I'm raising boys?
Oh yeah.
I do think there's different challenges with boys though that
Oh, yeah.
It's
like
just
girls
different
don't go through.
challenges.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Different
Yeah.
challenges,
Yeah.
but as they get
Mhm.
older, you're going to find the boys are way easier.
Yeah.
Like,
What about when we were younger?
Well, when I compare like graduations for the boys
Oh,
compared
yeah.
to girls, it
That's-
was like, oh,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. You had, there was a lot
a
to
lot of
that.
stress.
What about when we were like little kids though, like before
Little
our social
kids?
circles got too big?
Well, when Scott was born, he was my first. He could sit in a playpen and play independently for hours at a time. Hours. I mean, he once slept when he was a baby for 17 hours.
I don't think we got a sleep consultant on the line. I don't think that's okay. I don't think that's normal.
Well, if you think I was waking him up, you're
Yeah.
crazy. But the girls I found were like they needed, Amanda. I couldn't leave Amanda's sight.
Yeah.
Mm.
And with me, I have the two older kids and the two younger kids. And I found the two older ones were completely different than the two younger ones.
Right.
Now, I found when my two were little, with the boy and the girl, like Ryan was so busy, I needed a leash on him, and
Oh,
her,
sorry.
I had to like push her to do anything. Like Jessica was, like even when like Ryan was, like climbing this, like
Yeah.
climbing and busy, and her, you could put her in one spot and she'd stay there till you moved her to the next spot. Like,
Yes.
she
Which
just
is
wasn't
so funny
busy.
from now because
Yeah,
I'm so
she-
I can't
yeah,
sit in one
she-
spot for
she-
longer than 5 minutes.
She just wasn't busy. But he was
That's so
really busy. If you went anywhere, she would, like Jessica when she was 5, if you wanted her to stay in a cart, she'd stay in the shopping cart. Like Ryan wanted out
Don't
running
put me
around,
down for cardio.
Yeah.
run around when he was 2, he didn't want to be in the shopping cart. They were just,
It's funny.
that's what I found different.
Mhm.
It's funny, not that I have the daughter to compare it to, but I do. Patrick and I talk about that all the time with our friends who have daughters, like young girls. Our boys are so busy. Like you don't
Mhm.
sit down. It's always chasing them. Like you said, they're climbing or jumping off something or like danger everywhere. And the girls are so like calm and cool and collected for the most part. And other parents are always like, oh, they're busy. I'm like, yeah, yeah, sure. That's so funny.
Yeah, it's funny. And I don't know if that has to do with boys versus girls or the order they were born in.
Yeah.
That's
Oh, I
Because
think birth order
yeah.
is fascinating.
Amanda
Yes.
was my second child, and had she been my first, she'd probably be an only child.
Mhm,
well, that's what
Sorry,
happened
Amanda.
with Logan.
mhm,
He was colicky
She-
for the first 6 months, and I was like, I can't do that again.
Yeah.
mhm.
That was
But
rough.
Amanda was,
Yes.
I think she had her days and nights mixed up. So she was awake all night and slept all day.
So
Mhm.
tell them what Nana did.
Nana, my mother, flipped her this way in the bed. Like she just flipped her like a knife, took her up and switched her around. Thank God she did, because I think I would've
Flipped her
gave
back
away.
into her days and nights.
Wow.
But now
Yeah.
Amanda's kind of your favorite child. So I mean, it worked out.
Who, yeah.
There's nobody my favorite child.
Wow.
Stop trying
These
to
people
catch me.
don't need to be hiring and paying me hundreds
Mm-hmm.
of dollars. They just need the Nana.
Yeah.
The Nana.
Nana,
Just
yeah.
flip it.
Now,
Just flip it.
as
Flip it like a knife.
babies, Ryan slept through the night at 3 weeks old. He was
No,
sleeping
Mom.
through the night. Jessica she was
There's no 3-week-old.
No,
Your 3-week-old shouldn't sleep
you-
tonight. You need to wake them and feed them.
no, we didn't.
Not a chance.
I would
Never.
not. No, that's
Like the
that-
way you guys have babies now, I'm surprised that my children, you guys survived, because
Yes.
I loaded you down with blankets. You slept on your belly. You had bumper pads. You were in a bassinet for anyway,
It was 30 years ago. No one call
Mhm.
anyone.
40 years ago.
Well, yeah, both.
Yeah.
Hey. 30 for some of it. 30 something for some of it. Not 40 yet.
So much has changed since we had babies.
oh, now it's just
I know, but you know what, Kathy? My mother says all the time, like, because I'm a sleep consultant. So, like, when I was telling her about that job, she was just like, how is that even a thing? Like, when you were, she's like, when you were a baby, like, there was none of that, whatever. And I was like, I looked at her and I was like, Mom, I literally slept in your bed with you until I was 12 years old.
Yeah.
So
maybe
obviously
you could have used one.
there was sleep issues, but like, I don't think you can truly remember back to 30 years ago. Like, you had sleep struggles with Ryan, I'm sure. You just don't remember.
no, definitely we did not. If
Okay,
your
but
father was here, we did
But I
not.
slept with you until I was
but
12.
With you slept. It was when we took you out of the crib at 2. Anyway, Jessica,
That
we
was too
tried
early.
everything. We tried everything. We tried saying, okay, this is it now, Jessica. You have to go up and you have to go to bed. So we put you up in bed, and then you would cry, and you'd have your missing dream, and your father said, that's it. Let her sleep with us until she gets over it. And so we did.
12
and-
years
Well,
later.
10 years later.
10 years later.
When mom first saw the monitor we got when we were having Bo with like the camera on it, she's like, what is this? I'm like, it's a camera. She's like, for what? What do you mean? She's like, why is the only reason you ended up with a monitor on your third child?
Second.
No, it was me, right?
Child. Yeah, you're
When
right.
I was born, you got a
Amanda
monitor.
tried to pick you up at the carriage.
My 4-year-old sister came in and tried to pick me up. So mom and dad were like, oh, better get something to help
Oh my
us with
God.
this.
But in saying that, like I was just saying, I'm sure there was sleep struggles, but in saying that, I do believe that now it's a lot harder because we are so in touch and in tune with everything our babies are doing.
Yeah.
Like years ago, there was maybe a monitor, but not a video one.
Yeah.
So like lots of babies were probably crying out at night, but then just settled themselves back to sleep. So
Right.
figured out how to sleep independently. Like
Self-soothe.
it wasn't enough that they needed to be fed or anything. They just, they figured it out. So they went back to
Yeah.
sleep. So they slept better. Whereas
Yeah.
now we can literally see their every move, and we have the monitor turned up to max volume just because I think like the way that
And-
society had portrayed, like we're terrified not to, that like we're gonna do
Yeah.
the wrong thing or
Too much information today.
That's
I
what
think.
always
Yeah,
mom
there
says.
is.
There is.
There is.
Mom says that
Deliveries.
all the time.
I didn't know anything about the whole delivery system or whatever. I just did what they told me, had the babies,
Mhm.
no
Yeah.
drugs,
You're right, Cathy.
no
But Cathy-
epidurals.
Cathy, weren't you saying, I think Sarah told me this, that you were saying you wouldn't have as many kids as you had now in this day and age. Is that what you said, Sarah?
I don't remember.
It was something
Oh, I
like
probably
nowadays, I
wouldn't.
don't think you would have survived having multiple kids. That like,
yeah, I think
it
it's
was
like you
easier
knew all
back then
this.
because you didn't know enough.
If I know then what I know now,
Yeah.
Yes.
probably
I-
wouldn't.
Yeah, I think we talked about that at Bo's birthday party, Cathy. We were having that conversation that like there's too much in the know now. Like we know
Yeah.
too much. It's
Yeah.
too scary
Too
bringing up
much
kids in this
information.
world now.
Mhm.
It
I
is.
think
Yeah, there is.
we also know so much about what other people are doing, and like
Yeah.
comparison is the thief
And-
of
and
joy.
it's-
So we
it's
can't like,
everything, the phones and Twitter
Yeah.
and Instagram, and we didn't have any of that. We
Yeah.
didn't.
Jess, I remember like going back to the monitor. Not only can we see them in the house, but like your monitor, you can see when you're out, like it's on your phone, right?
The
Oh,
Nest
believe
Cam.
So you
me,
were
I
able
got
to, like-
caught on it.
Yeah, Margaret.
Yeah, that wasn't your finest moment.
That wasn't my finest moment.
I warned you not to go in there.
Tell us more.
Well, Jessica and Daniel, I was babysitting, and the baby was already in bed. So I had him, I could see him on the monitor, and it looked like the blanket was sort of covering over him. And I mentioned it to Jessica before she left. She said, no, Mom, he's fine. So Daniel's
Wait,
parents
just
were
to be
picking him
clear,
up.
I'm not okay. There was no way that the blanket was over his face because it would have addressed
it
that.
looked like it was to me that
Anyway.
when you said no, it's fine. He's okay.
Leave him be.
Leave him be. So Daniel's parents were picking them up. And so the minute they get out of the car, I looked out the window and they were out of the driveway. I go running down, and I go in and I sort of move them the way that, so that I just wasn't satisfied
see
with
him
the
well
way that he
enough,
was
yeah.
in the bed. So I moved him and I heard, what are you doing in there? I told you not. I remembered the camera. I said, that's it. That's it.
Get out of there is what I said. Get the hell out.
Which is funny, Jess, because you
You were
probably weren't
so-
even out of Tanglewood yet, and you
No.
were taking the baby monitor.
Yeah.
So the funny thing about that is, anyway, Daniel ended up disconnecting it because it was just not healthy
Mhm.
for me to have access to his 24/7. Yeah, and things have been a lot better since. And I've also became a sleep consultant since that whole
Yes.
fiasco. But we were in the middle of we were just past sleep training, so I knew that like he was settled, and I knew that if she went in there, he would expect this whole song and dance.
Yes, that's
And
right.
I can enjoy myself on a date night, then knowing that he was asleep, then worrying about like, is mom up half the night with them? Like, even though she didn't care, it worried me. So he's
Yeah.
like, do not go in that room, whatever you do. Call me first. If
Yeah.
anything comes up, just give me a call. I'll tell you what to do.
Yeah.
Ran down there, not even into the driveway, not even into Tanglewood.
Yeah. It's hilarious too that we're like this. Pat always brings this up because I remember leaving Bo with mom and dad one night or for the first time or something. And I'm like running through my list to do's. Mom always laughs. I always leave like a detailed page of like, you know, the schedule
It's
and
like
all
we
the
never had a
things.
child before.
Exactly. And mom, I'm always like, okay, here's the timeline and here's all the snacks and whatever. And she's like, She
I do
never
the
reads
same
it.
thing, Kathy.
Never
Goes through
reads
one
it.
ear. out
And
the
then
other.
I
Yeah,
left.
right.
Yeah. I
Mhm.
left your house once and I got in the car and I was, you know, one of the first times leaving the baby and I was like anxious or stressed. And Pat looked at me. He's like, Sarah, she's the expert here. Like, we have no idea what we're doing. She raised 4 of you. Why are we nervous leaving them with her?
Because it was 30 years ago.
I know. That's what I said. I'm like, 30 years ago and it's a different kid. Like, I don't know, but it's so funny because they know more than we do. Like, you know, in the scheme of parenting, they've been there before.
And now it
But
has
yeah.
switched so much because like Logan now prefers her over us.
Yes.
So now when we go out, I can have the best time because I know that like he's obsessed with her and wants to be with her anyway.
Right.
So like even if he wakes up in the middle of the night crying, it's for her. So
Yes.
it doesn't matter. Like there's no time that he's ever going to be like, I want mommy daddy.
Yeah.
He cries
that's right.
sometimes for her at home. Like he'll cry for Nana.
So cute. Is that what Logan calls you? Nana?
Nana.
Mhm.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
sweet.
Yeah, he loves her. So now it's like a treat. Like he's going for a sleepover tomorrow night. And I'm like, okay, like
Yeah.
I will literally rest well.
Yes.
You know?
Exactly. Yeah.
Knowing he's there.
That's so nice. So lucky. Okay. We have another question. And this one is, what is your best advice for coping with the teenage years?
Patience. Have
Mm.
patience.
Patience. That's
I always tell people my 2 girls turned into monsters at 13 and they came back to the real world and being humans at 18, 19.
mhm.
You just
That's
got to
a long
live
time.
It's
Puberty. That's what that is.
Yeah.
Puberty.
Yeah.
if anything, it's just trying to be there for them and understanding that it being turning a teenager, there's just so many things that
So many challenges.
emotions and starting to have different feelings and
Hormones.
it's just a really difficult time.
Yeah.
High school, going into high school is challenging, and just even it's even before that now.
Yeah.
We have the school age children at the daycare, and of course they're you know, the oldest we would have would be 10 or 11, but we're seeing a lot of them dealing with issues now.
Oh,
And
that is
have
so
to.
interesting.
And it's becoming very challenging for
Mhm.
families and
Yeah.
just where do you and the services that we have for kids in Cape Breton is not the greatest, and
Mhm.
with
Mhm.
COVID on top of that, it's very challenging for families, and
Yeah.
they need that support. But if I could have any advice, it's just to try to be patient and not be judgmental and try to be there for them, and that can be
Have an
hard.
open mind and open
An
heart.
open
Yeah.
mind and yeah.
It must be hard to balance like letting us figure it out on our own,
Mhm.
like letting us experience it, but also wanting to protect us from it.
Yes,
Like that's even
it
hard
is.
in the
It
young
is.
child age. So
It is.
teenage years must be hard.
It's interesting
Mhm.
because my oldest 2, I'm still hearing stories about stuff that they did when they were teenagers because they never told me anything. But Sarah and Chris, by the time I had them and they were teenagers, they told me everything they did. So
Mhm.
in a way, I kind of worried about them more because I knew what they were doing. The
Yeah.
other 2, I didn't know what they were doing.
That's
That's
so,
true,
That's
Kathy.
true.
What
It
you don't
is.
know, right?
Mhm.
You know, like she'd tell me if she was going on the rock at, you know, and I knew what they did on the rock. And I thought, oh my God.
Not how I said
Yeah,
it.
get home. Well, whatever.
And
you know.
the other thing too,
Truth and bottoms.
the other thing I think too is that yes, when you're a teenager, they're starting to become independent, but they still need you, and
Yeah.
you
They do.
still need to know where they're at
Yeah.
all
Mhm.
times.
Yeah.
That's the key thing. It's, you know, when you start letting them, you know, maybe go out a little bit more and do
Yeah.
things, you still need to know who they're with, where they're at. You can't just say, oh, I'm going, that's with mine. I needed to know. No, it wasn't accept. You can't just go out. Out where?
Yeah.
No, exactly.
Where are you going? There's
Yeah.
no such thing as just going
Yeah.
out. You have to be going somewhere. Who are you going with? And that is
Do you
need
think
to-
what's your stance on like, or what's your opinion on being friends with your kids?
I never wanted to be my kid's friend. I gotta tell you, I was their mother.
Well, we have a different role. At some point, you become their friend. Like now, you can say you're friends,
Yeah.
but
When they're
you need to
kids-
be more than that when they're in an impressionable age, because
Exactly.
you have to remember you're being a role model for them when they become parents. So they
Mhm.
have to be able to differentiate that. I mean,
That's so true,
Mhm.
Cathy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You have to be
it's-
able to differentiate between it.
And
you have to, yeah.
I used to like loathe my mother in high school. Like I just thought she was the worst. Like so many rules, so many like I had to be home by a certain time. I wasn't allowed to go to the movie. Like I wasn't allowed to do activities on a weeknight. Like I could on the weekend, but like I wasn't allowed out on a weeknight. Like that's the school night, whatever. Anyway, she had all these rules and I would see other people being allowed to do all these things. But now I am so thankful
Yeah.
for all
Yeah,
of that
for sure.
structure because I think it was
Yeah.
important and I think I didn't miss out, you know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I think the other thing that's important with my kids, I found because they were involved with sports, they had a different set of rules. I think, you know, the sports, your coaches and whatever kind of helped your parents because they had certain expectations of them because they were part of a team and representing the school.
Mhm.
And then you knew who their friends were.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think it's very important to know who your kids' friends are.
Yeah.
God, yeah.
Yes, that's if anything, you know, you need to know who they're with, where they're going.
Well, I remember my first date ever was with Daniel and he was picking me up. And I remember like my mother had a whole conversation with Daniel's mother before I
Yeah.
went.
Mhm.
I couldn't even imagine that now. But like
Yeah.
you checked.
Mhm.
And I
were
think
like-
it's important to know, like I said, who your friends are. But my kids, I never let them sleep over anywhere
Yeah,
unless
that's what
I
I was just
really
gonna
knew the
say.
families.
Mhm.
Like I would let them go to certain places, but I always let them sleep at our house. You know, they
Yes.
could have friends in my house because I
Mhm.
knew where they were.
Yeah. I was just gonna say that listening to Margaret explain, like knowing where you're going and who you're with. Mom and dad were the same way. And same thing, Jessica. I remember being like half annoyed by that at the time.
Yes.
But now as a parent, that's always what I think back on. Like, oh my God, of course you weren't letting me go
Yeah.
to some random's house. Like
Mhm.
we were so naive as kids. Like you don't
Yeah.
know what is going on there, who those people are or what their family, like there's so many.
Like-
Like that concept. I used to think I'm the only kid
Yeah,
who's not allowed to
exactly.
do that.
I
But, like,
remember Daniel and
yeah.
I were dating before he had his after 12s. So like he had to
Yes.
be home before
did that.
12.
yeah.
And like one, not only is that like a government rule, like obviously you would have to follow that, but like his parents, like, you know, I think he had to be home by 11:30. I think they pushed it a
Yeah.
little bit earlier. And I remember Gina would text him at like 11:31 if he wasn't in the driveway. And I used to think like, that is so friggin' petty. Like, why is your mother being that like pathetic and rude and like ruining our lives? And then I got older and had my own child and realized like she thought the car was flipped on
Yeah.
the side of the road.
Yeah.
Like she was
Yeah.
worried about you. But like when you're young, you think your parents are doing
Exact-
all these
Mhm.
things to make
To
your life
ruin your life.
miserable.
Make your life miserable.
Yeah.
And really they're worried about you.
Mhm.
Listen, in grade, I don't even know what grade it was. It was in high school. Breakaway tours. Are you familiar with breakaway tours, Jessica?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay,
Oh,
my friends
never would be allowed to
still-
go on that.
Listen, my
No.
friends still hold this over my head. So it's still something that comes up that they make fun of me for because I was the only one basically not there. And mom, it was really funny because mom, like she said, I told her everything. So she always knew what we were up to and what we were doing and the whole thing. And like my friends would call mom to come pick them up some nights, like even if I
Oh,
wasn't
wow.
with them. So like she was in tune with my friend group, but that came back to haunt me when it was time for breakaway tours because she was like, there's
Not
no way
happening.
I'm letting you drive to like
On a
Quebec
not-
to party with all these people.
Yeah, and it wasn't sponsored by the school.
Yeah.
It was random.
And I begged her
chaperones who
and
were 5
begged
years
her.
older than the friends.
And begged her and begged her.
Not
And
happening.
no, I didn't get to go. And all my other friends got to go who typically like their parents probably didn't know what they were doing or, you know, but they all told them they were going on like a field trip
A
to check
school
out a
trip.
new province. So they all
Yeah.
got to go
Oh
unbeknownst
my
to them.
God.
And I wasn't allowed. And it's still a funny thing that my
Story.
friends will bring up to this day, like 20 some years later, or however many years later, being like, breakaway tourist staff, you remember? Oh, wait, you weren't allowed to go. It's still held over my
funny.
head for that. But now as a parent, I'm like, there's no way my kids are going to breakaway tours. Like,
Yeah.
terrifying.
Yeah.
Our next question is submitted for Margaret. Are you proud of Jessica for picking such a handsome and smart son-in-law?
Oh my goodness.
Who do you think submitted that
well,
one?
who loves him more than anything?
Yeah, we know.
Yes. No, Daniel and
Daniel
I.
also does no wrong in my mother's eyes,
Right.
which is
I
fun.
think
is up
it's.
there
I
too.
think it maybe it's. I get it from my mother. The men in your life, for But anyway,
Yes.
no, he is one of a kind. I have to say, no, Daniel.
There's like love in your eyes as you
Yeah,
say
I
that.
know.
That is so
She's obsessed.
cute.
Yeah, I am.
You were so happy when you found out we were.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, no, he's and that would be a question that he would ask.
I told you.
Yeah, he would. He definitely. And yes, I give a shout out for Daniel.
But just quickly
Aw.
and
And I-
condense it down. Tell quickly the story about the time you found him. I was gone. I wasn't home.
Am I allowed to tell that story?
It's
Oh,
a juicy one.
Okay,
Tell it.
about him
It's
in
just
the
quick.
house.
Yes.
So Jessica and Daniel were dating
In high
and-
school.
In high school. So this one, but he was had already turned 19.
Are you sure?
I think so.
No, because we were in high school, Mom.
Yeah,
he
but
wasn't
had-
out of
He had
age.
graduated. You were
Okay.
in grade 12 and he had just graduated.
I
And,
don't know
yeah,
if he was 19
and
or
he-
not.
well, I think he was at that point. So they were so Jessica was going out with the girls and Daniel was going out with the guys.
He was going to the classified
the-
concert at the Savoy.
At the Savoy with the
Oh,
guys.
yes.
But he had to work
Till 10.
till 10. So he was meeting them there. So I guess they were all having a few drinks. So he decided to he had to get caught up. And so he drank a little bit more than what he should. And he got at the concert and apparently
You got to tell the other part first, though. You're mixing it up. Like you just came home and you're telling the backstory, but
yeah, I know, but yeah, okay. So anyway, Daniel went to the concert. I drove Jessica to where she was going, and I come home. That's right. I come home and I come in the house, and your father was working out west at the time. It's there by myself, and I was reading the paper. I'm sitting at the table reading the paper, and all of a sudden I could hear this noise, like this loud noise. I said, "What's that?" And I listened and I said, "It sounds like a snore, like somebody snoring." I knew my husband was out west, so it wasn't
Oh
him.
my God.
Ryan was, I think he wasn't home, so it wasn't Ryan. I said, "Where?" Anyway, I could hear it again, really loud. I go down. I look in the bed, Jessica's bedroom, and there's Daniel in her bed, passed out.
Stark
asleep.
naked.
Stark naked. Well, he had his underwear
oh, he had
on.
his underwear on.
Yeah, and his clothes all
Thank
folded.
goodness.
His clothes all off and folded by the bed, and he's in the bed, passed out.
So basically, what happened is he tried to play catch up afterward, and then I think there was some other things
Yeah.
involved. Classified concert. I'll let you
Yeah.
figure that out. And he just got super sick, and so the closest place to home, like for him to go seek refuge, I guess, was
And the door
our
was
house.
open, and he just came to the house, came in. I wasn't there. I was gone driving her somewhere. So then she came home, and I said, she came in about, I don't know, around 12 o'clock, I guess. And I said, go in your bedroom.
See who's there.
There.
But the interesting thing I love about this story is my mother made Daniel get up and call his parents to tell them where he was.
Yeah.
And that was a good move. Like you're like, yes,
Mhm.
I love you. I don't want you to get in trouble, but also like you need to call
They
your
need
parents.
to know. Yeah.
Like I can't be the cool
Yeah.
mother-in-law that I want to be. You got to call your parents, which I
Yeah.
love that. I think that was
Mhm.
important, right? And they were pissed, but they were also glad that he was like safe.
Yeah.
But good old Daniel.
Good,
God,
yeah.
he's
So
fun.
sweet.
Just thought,
He's a good
I'll go
time.
to Margaret's and
Yeah, he knew I wasn't home.
That is so funny.
yeah,
Funny story about Daniel.
funny.
Okay, coming off the proud moments, although that is one, Daniel, I'll give you that. Another question is, what are some of your proudest mom moments?
Oh, wow. There's too many to even mention.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Oh, I'm proud of the fact that all of my kids were able to stay in Cape Breton for
Mhm.
sure. Proud of the adults they've become and the choices they've made.
Most
Most
choices, I mean.
Most choices. Well, there were a few in junior high that I kind of questioned you, but anyway. But no, I mean, it's just they all have great careers and
Yeah, there's a lot to be proud of there.
Yeah, and I say the same. I'm very, very proud. Ryan, lives in Cape Breton, but he does have to travel for work. But I'm very proud of his certainly his accomplishments. And Jessica, I'm just the proudest, one of the proudest moments was when she became a mom. And I just always thought, you think like you can't imagine your kids having kids, I find.
Yeah.
And then when she became a mom, I'm just like, I love watching her. And I've learned from her, to be honest, like things that I might have done differently. How she is with Logan, and how she when he's doing something that she doesn't want him to do, how she talks with them, and I'm just so proud of her as a mother. I'm proud of you and Sarah for this year, what you guys have accomplished with this podcast. I've heard lots of wonderful things about it. But Sarah, you're a wonderful mom as well. I loved, the times that I've seen you with the twins and little videos that Jessica had, and I know Bo is amazing.
Oh, you're so sweet.
He talks like he's 20.
I know.
Yeah. He does think he's 20.
I was just sitting watching TV with him, and he father gave him an ice cream sandwich and asked me if I wanted one. And I said, yeah. And I said, oh, this is delicious. He said, I agree. He's 4. It's like, anyway.
That's so sweet, Margaret. Yeah. Thank you. That's so nice. It must be crazy to see your kids
have kids
become parents. Yeah.
It's pretty crazy.
And my sister-in-laws, we all said, oh my gosh, we can't imagine our kids having kids. And how are they going to survive? Because we know how we sort of spoiled them, and they've all become wonderful parents and wonderful moms.
So true.
So
you set the example.
Proud of them.
That's right.
Well,
they watched and learned.
Yeah.
So moving into the next question, since we're kind of on the same topic, do you think that we parent similar to the way you did?
Ooh.
In some ways, I think you do, but in other ways, I think you have your own style,
which is a good, or
it is really. I like I said I learned from you.
I always, like, when I was having kids and working, I worked full time. I've always worked full time having my family. And my first two, I had 4 months off. You guys with the year, and some people take 18 months. I don't know. I don't know if I could handle that. So from that perspective, I think you're a way better parent than me, because I have to work. No, I think it was we brought our kids up in a different day and age where things weren't under the microscope that they're under now. So I think it was a very different time to parent. There wasn't as much going on in the world as there is now. I think, there's just so much out there, in so many ways things can go bad, that I think ignorance was bliss.
Yeah.
You know, like I said before, I mean, I didn't know about, you know, you guys, when you were pregnant, you'd show me a picture every month or every so many weeks, and this is what my baby looks like. And I didn't have that technology, and
No.
I just kind of went with the flow. And
Mhm.
I think the values are there, the values that we got from our parents and we passed on to you by you watching us with as we raised you. I
Mhm.
think, you know, that's the same.
Do you
I
think
think-
there's anything we've like tweaked though from that, or like changed in that? Like, is there anything?
Well, no, I don't.
And
Well,
your
yeah.
kids, your kids are all parenting differently, maybe too,
Oh,
are they?
big
Which
time.
is interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everybody's different.
Yeah.
Everyone
Mhm.
has different, you know,
Styles.
styles
And
so do we.
personalities, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
personalities.
Well, different kids. You're
And
you're raising
Margaret
different
and I
kids. Yeah.
parent so differently.
But I think Sarah and I talked about this. At least I think we did, Sarah. But when I think about like years ago as kids, every Sunday after church, we would go to my nan's house and all the
Yeah.
adults would sit around drinking tea and eating pie, and the kids would be kind of doing their own
Mhm.
thing.
Yeah.
And then
Same.
like we would all go and bug our parents and they would respond to us and then we'd run off again and
Mhm.
whatever. But I often wonder, like, I didn't feel this. I didn't recognize it, that anyone was judging anyone there for their parenting style, the way they responded. Like, I don't know if that was a thing back then. Like,
No.
if everyone was like, oh, like, did you see how she responded to them? Or like, their child
No.
is so whatever. Like,
Mhm.
but now I feel like everyone is under such a microscope that I think we're always thinking about how we're responding to our kids in front of other people.
Mhm.
Do you think
Right.
that, like, was that a thing with your sister-in-laws and your sisters and your brothers when we were all around? Like, did you guys judge one another, or was it just, it is what it is? Like, there was,
No, like
do you know where I'm going with that?
Yeah,
I think he
definitely.
does.
Yeah.
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 No, I think we sort of, I mean, most of us were basically, we were on the same page. If there was one of the kids that was busier, you know, you'd sort of say, maybe, oh, you know, did you think of doing this, or
Yeah.
did you think of doing that? But
It was more supportive.
but it was more, it was more
Yeah.
supportive. And I mean, we knew what kids, you know, were needed, like
More attention.
yeah, or
Yeah.
you know, was busier than the other or something like that. So you might have to, like I traveled a lot with my sister-in-law, because John worked away. So my sister-in-law Wanda, I traveled a lot with her. Well, the Ryan and Benjamin were kind of like the same, and you had to be go all the time. And Jessica just kind of just went with the flow. The two boys, you had to be, you know, you were going from one
Mhm.
thing to the other. Now,
Mhm.
my other sister-in-law, her kids were just more mellow, and that was okay. Like that's the way,
yeah.
you
Yeah.
know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
kind of the way, and that was their style. So you just accepted.
That's what I mean.
But
Like,
now
I
you're
just feel like
just-
it was
don't
so much
seem to
more
be-
accepted. Like
Yeah.
now,
Yeah.
there's just so
Well,
much
I-
judgment and
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, and I think we had our styles, but nobody ever really named it. Like,
Yeah,
Right. You
that's
didn't have the
right,
language.
Cathy.
You didn't have the language around
and
it.
you just
Yeah.
That's right.
did it. Like,
There's
if,
a label
if,
now.
Yeah.
if you
Yeah.
needed help, you got it. If somebody else needed help, we helped them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't
Yeah.
name, like in the neighborhood we grew up in,
Yeah.
and my kids grew up in for the first part of their lives.
Yeah.
Like, you could let your kids out, they would be out all day, and
Yeah.
and the neighbors would look after them. if
Like
they were
the
hurt or
saying,
if
it
they
takes
were-
a village.
Yeah,
It
takes a
literally
village.
took that village. Like
Yeah,
we were in
Cathy-
and out of every one of those
Cathy,
houses.
you're very right. I grew up on Maple Avenue. We knew all our neighbors. We were over in each other's yards. We were
Had tea
your neighbors.
together.
Yeah.
Yeah, your neighbors talked to you when it was grading day. You'd come home. Everyone would be out around.
Yeah.
It was just a different. We grew up in
Yeah.
a different environment.
Different
Yeah.
environment.
It was in
different
a
society.
different time.
But I
You
also
knew
think
your neighbors.
Like but now there's so much more demands on families. Like
Mhm.
both parents are typically working now. Like
Yeah.
not in every situation,
Mhm, you're
but
right.
like a lot of parents are working. There's a lot more demands on families. Some families have like multiple jobs. So they're working days, they're working. I just
Yeah.
feel like it's so different now,
Mhm.
like with that stuff. And there's just so much more like television and video games and
Mhm.
social
My-
media. Like before, if you
Mhm.
wanted to play, like you had to go outside. Like that's how you were
Yeah,
playing.
That's right. My parents both worked. I remember my mother went to work probably when I started school or maybe before. So we, every Saturday, my father was the supervisor. My sister Debbie and I did all the housework because mom worked every Saturday. So he would put a pot of baked beans in the oven and we would clean the house. That was our Saturday routine. So yeah, she worked, and it was, I can remember though some nights being up in the window waiting for her to get off the bus because she got off at 9 o'clock on Friday night. And I couldn't wait for her to get home because I missed her so much.
Yeah. But you're the youngest of 11 kids, right? Like
11.
like you were what, 3 months old when your oldest sister got
2
married.
months old.
So you had like, there's like a parentification of older kids that happen there,
sure.
right? Like you had like
And
multiple.
my 2 older siblings are my godparents.
Yeah, like that's so
Mhm.
interesting. Like that
Mhm,
time
mhm.
span wouldn't happen
Mhm.
now, right? Yeah,
We have
very
lots more
interesting.
questions. I feel like I'm loving this conversation, but we do have a lot of questions we have to get through. We have one here that says, Margaret, where did Jessica get the amazing hair? I can answer that one.
Oh,
You have amazing hair. And
I've got-
Burb, it's
yes,
the greens.
Yes, it's definitely. And your father had nice hair too.
Had keyword.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
It is the
probably,
greens.
yeah, it's the greens. Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Mhm.
Yeah, Mom, you have
Mhm.
thick, luxurious
Yeah.
hair.
And Barb
Yeah.
has
And
You
nice
both have
eyebrows,
nice
too.
hair,
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
nice
I
hair.
don't. Mine's very thin.
You do have thin hair. That's
Yeah,
the lengua.
that's
As you all
lengua.
age, your hair gets thinner.
What's the next one?
Still beautiful though.
Uh,
Mine. I have one here.
okay.
Kathy, who was more challenging, Amanda or Sarah?
I thought a lot about this question.
Oh, okay.
They both were at different times in their lives. Like when Amanda was 2, I remember we would on Sunday afternoon go out to Aubrey's mom's every Sunday afternoon and his grandmother's. And I wanted to put a nice frilly dress on Amanda. And Amanda was not having any part of it. And I said, well, if you don't put this dress on, you have to stay home with Nana, my mother who lived with us. She said, okay, I'll stay home with Nana.
Yeah.
And she did.
Yeah.
Because if she didn't put the dress on, I wasn't taking her to Grammy's house.
So at 2, she was more
So
challenging.
2, 3, she was terrified of everybody that came in the house. She was stubborn. But anyway, but then, I mean, Sarah was more challenging as a teenager, I think, because again, she told me everything she did and I didn't want to hear half of it. But anyway, but really, they really weren't that bad.
What about now?
You
Who was more stubborn?
stubborn? Both of you are
Mm.
stubborn.
I was gonna
Yeah,
say,
we are.
yeah, you're
Stubborn.
Yeah.
in a good way though, I think.
Yeah. I'd like
Depends on the
I like to think
situation,
so.
Jess. Depends on the situation.
What's the worst thing Sarah and Jess have done in their teen years?
Oh gosh, scared for this.
I don't think I've done anything.
I can't really think of anything. There's things you and Elizabeth did that I found out
Oh, the
later
drinking.
on that I mean, you were pretty
I was
good
too
because
busy to do anything. I
Yeah,
was in
you were
dancing every night of the week.
yeah, and then you you I can't
Yeah, I
think
think, and
of
I think I
anything.
did things like I really didn't
I
get
was
into
just
trouble.
nervous when you started wanting when you were starting to be independent and going out. I was always nervous for both of you. Like, what are they going to be doing? What are they, are you going to be there? There's challenges out there. How are they going to handle it?
But I
Those are
didn't
the
give you a
things.
hard time.
And then the worst thing for me, I'll tell you, the biggest challenge for me was when they got their license. I
Yeah.
was so nervous.
Yeah.
I don't know.
nerve-wracking.
I found that so
was.
hard.
Yeah.
But other
I
than
can't
that,
really say it, that the worst thing you ever did. I don't know.
That's
I-
right. You don't know. No, I'm just
No,
kidding.
No, I know. Sarah thinking the
that
same
we
thing.
don't
I'm like, well, I got
we
birth
don't know
control
about it. When
without
she
you
went- I
knowing.
think the scariest thing for me was when she went to Halifax.
Oh,
I felt
yeah.
I felt I lost control.
Yeah.
I felt when she was still living home, I still had that little bit of I shouldn't say control, but a little bit of she's gonna listen to me, or
Yeah, you had influence
And
by
influence
proximity.
her.
You were
That's
there.
a better
Yeah.
word. And
Yeah.
when she went to Halifax, I found that really hard. And the time that she went, my dad wasn't well, and he was in the hospital up there. So she was I had to kind of throw her, okay, there you go. Because I was, I had that going on. So,
distracted.
and then but I did find that really hard. That was the most challenging thing for me was when she went off to school.
And then when you saw where I was living.
And at first, and then when I
when you saw it,
when I first saw it, I said, "Oh my gosh, I can't leave her here. This place is a disaster."
Towers.
Oh
yeah.
I said, "This
familiar before the renos."
And so anyway, when I saw but then when we got there and we sort of, I came and I cleaned it, and it still looked. I mean,
well, yeah, you can't.
It was pretty scary. I have to say.
What's the saying? You can't. What's that saying about cleaning something that's ugly? Help me out here, people.
It was clean.
Judge a book by its cover? I don't know.
You can't.
Put lipstick on the pig.
There you go. You can't put lipstick on the pig.
There's the t-shirt quote.
All right, what do we got next?
Okay, what do you have? What
All
answer for
right,
that or no? You're good.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, there you go. I was an angel. You heard it here first.
Yeah.
Yeah, but listen to the husband's episode next.
Wait,
Cathy.
What do you love most about Sarah and Jess?
Oh, the pressure.
The list is long. We know.
When we asked
Ryan,
Daniel and
pick your
Kat this
favorite.
one, they're like,
Yeah. Like think quick.
and then they just repeat what the other person says.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that too.
What do you love most about me, Mom?
There's all kinds of things.
Well, name just one.
You're funny. You're
pick one
funny.
anyway.
I love
Yeah, she is
you-
funny.
yeah, you've always been comical. Things that you say, your thoughts. That time, your thoughts about Santa Claus. Your thoughts about making money, singing on the streets of in Halifax. You were going to get hundreds of
I was gonna
dollars
be
in
a
your
busker.
suitcase
Yeah.
when you were little.
So cute. I think you could still do that.
There's
Yeah.
just so many, just so many things. But
But I'm
Yeah.
funny. Yeah. I
yeah,
like
you're
that.
you're
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll
you're
take
I
it.
don't know, you're smart. You're smart.
Yeah.
How how you're raising Logan. I love all those things about you.
Well, thanks.
Oh, that's so nice.
What about you, Kathy?
The same. There's so many things. I like. I love.
Funny, you can't think of one. No, just kidding.
No, it's true. Like I had a really proud moment the other day at the Advantage 2002.
Yes.
22.
Sorry. When she got up and spoke about the podcast, and even when she was on stage and how clear she was thinking on her feet, it's
Mhm.
like when I do anything in public, I get so nervous, but I feel like I have to have notes because
Mhm.
I want to make sure I get everything in. But it seems like Sarah can just do it. She just,
Mhm.
She has a very clear path in her head of what her passion is, and she can verbalize it really well.
Yeah, she can,
So,
Kathy. I agree with that. She can
And
verbalize her
she's-
thoughts so well.
She's so great with the kids. It's like, anyway, I don't know.
Go on.
She's just,
No,
so
just
good.
kidding.
Go on.
It's the same thing for me. I how she I don't know, her the way she talks about things now, and
Mhm.
how she
Yeah.
expresses herself. There's just so many things, but
Mhm.
her
Yeah.
she's always been like really funny, like dry.
She's
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, she is.
And
Yeah.
Sarah, like when she started when she went to university, I really recommended to her that she stay here. But she took on a lot. Like she in her last
Still
year
does.
at university. Yeah. In her last year of university, I think she got the full-time job in recruitment, and she had to take 8 courses or something.
Seven.
7 courses. So she did that and had a full-time job, and
It's nuts.
it was great. And you're still doing it. You're
Yeah.
still taking on.
Yeah.
They say if you want something done, ask a busy person.
That's right. That's right.
I'm laughing that you think there's a clear path in my head, because if you could see inside my head,
Oh,
there's
yeah.
definitely
I know, but
nothing
Sarah,
clear
like,
about it.
it's yeah, and I agree with your mom though, that like you just can speak so clearly and effortlessly, and you do verbalize your thoughts very, very well. Like you're very articulate,
Mhm.
Thank
and that's
you.
a skill, and that's not something that's easy.
It is a skill.
So
Thank
it-
you.
And you
yeah.
might think when somebody's up there talking that they don't appear nervous, but like when I'm up talking anytime in public, I'm so nervous.
I was nervous.
But you don't appear like you don't come across.
You probably
being
don't either,
nervous.
though. That's just internally. we
Yeah,
think
that's
that.
true, Sarah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Aw, you're so
Um,
sweet. Jessica, what's something you love most about your mom?
Like I love your personality and how like you're so friendly to people and you always make people feel so welcome. And like at the daycare, everyone is like, "Oh, Margaret, your mom." Like they're so excited to hear that she's my mom. And I'm very proud to always say that she is my mom because I know that I'm going to get a positive response from that. But you are
Yeah.
just super fun. You're the life of the party. You're very like, yeah, I'm just a friendly person. I'm a lot like my mom.
Yeah, you
And
are.
I'm glad that if I was gonna
Mm.
if I was
That's a
gonna be like
compliment.
any parent, I would definitely choose you. My dad's
Yeah.
definitely
No offense,
like,
Sean.
yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I guess just
Mhm.
that. Like I just
Mhm.
love how kind you are to people and how welcome you make people feel, and makes me proud that you're my mom.
Well, thank you.
Oh,
Welcome.
that's so sweet.
What about you,
So sweet.
Sarah?
Well, the list is just so
Oh,
long.
yeah.
How do I choose? I think I'm very proud you're my mom. Same idea, Jess. Like when you say, "Oh, Kathy's my mom," and it's like, "Oh, Kathy,"
Yeah.
I think you and dad have both really always emulated like community first. Like you're both very active in like the church community and in our local community and just caring for people. So I think my mom is very caring and empathetic. And I think she kind of raised us that way too. Like you look out for your neighbor and you help
Yeah.
people in need and you give before you take and that type of thing. And I think my mom does that really hard or really well. And my mom works really hard, although I do get after her now that I think she should like enjoy life differently and
Same.
slow down.
Same.
But she's always worked really, really hard and she's always shown us like, I don't think my mom has ever missed like one of our games. Like, I think she must have cloned herself when we were in junior high and high
I
school.
might have picked
Because
them up late once every so
yeah,
often.
but now I
forgot
know
to get
why.
them.
I used to get so mad at that. No wonder you picked us up late. Like, I don't know how you managed it. Like, you
Right.
raised the four of us. You never missed a game.
My business
You were
was
always
well
doing,
working.
you were always like making the, well, not making the sweets, buying the sweets for the hospitality
Getting my
room.
sister to make them.
Yeah, or like
There
volunteering.
was no
at the
time
thing.
to
So-
make the damn sweets.
yeah, but you were always
Wasn't a big
involved. So I just, yeah, I think I love how kind and caring you are for the people in your lives and you help. Compassionate. That's a good word.
Yeah.
I think you help people. You meet people where they're at and you help people like level up. And I think you do it in a way that is very individual to them. Like, I think you give me what I need and you give Amanda what she needs and you give Scott and Chris what they need. And like, you're able to kind
Right.
of treat us as the individuals we are. And I think that's a skill for
That
sure.
is definitely
Yeah. So I think I admire like your leadership skills and your empathetic self. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, and
You know,
You're pretty good.
I just want to say that it's it's one that you have a career and you decide what you want to do in life, but the most wonderful thing is becoming a mother
yeah.
and
it is.
being
It's pretty.
being a mother. There's nothing
Mhm.
I thought that when I had started working at the daycare, that's all I thought about when I got married. We were married for 5 years before Ryan came along. And then when he came along, I couldn't believe that you could, love this little being so much. And
Mhm.
the
Yeah.
work, the career, it didn't matter. If I go to work tomorrow, I go to work tomorrow. But being a mother is there's just nothing
Mhm.
like it. And then she came along. I just, and I often thought, I wished I sometimes had another child,
Yeah.
but been very lucky in my family. They, when the nieces started having kids, then we were allowed to, we embraced them and became such a part of their life.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
You are all such a just a force, your family.
yeah,
I said that at the
I
wedding.
can't
Like
say
you
enough
green
about-
girls are
yeah.
just this huge, like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's
and we've
amazing.
kind of all learned from each other, and we've all,
Yeah.
you know, made mistakes and don't mind saying we've made mistakes and learned from each other and
Yeah.
leaned on each other and kind of supported each other. But at the
Yeah.
end of the day, and on Cathy, you probably say there's nothing more rewarding than being a mother and then a
No,
grandmother.
that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think of my mom so many times because she was such a force
Yes.
in life. I mean,
Yeah.
you talk about accept people where they're at. I mean,
Yeah.
she always did that. And she had such strong faith in and passed that on to us
Yeah.
that, you know, she was always pretty special for me.
And I, yeah.
And you know, I was her youngest, and when everyone else had moved out, I still lived with her, and you know, had a place in my home for her, and so did you know, Aubrey really embraced her as well. And you know, that meant so much to me to have that time with her. I miss her more every day. Like, she's gone 34 years, and I miss
yes,
her.
Wow.
You know, yeah. Sarah was 4 months old
Oh
Yeah.
my
when
god.
Mom died.
wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So she
Very
she never met
that's-
Chris.
Yeah. I think you're very much, from what I hear of Nana, like, I think,
Yeah.
well, I think you all become her as you age. Like, that's the joke in our family. Like, all our aunts turn into our Nana for sure.
Yeah.
And I think you do as well. But I think you kind of live in like an ode to her a little bit, if that's fair to say, like
Live on
in an ode to
Yes,
her,
yeah.
like you,
in honor of her.
yeah, like
Yeah.
your faith life is very strong, and your,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
the way you are a parent and a grandparent, and the whole
Yeah.
thing is very interesting.
Yes.
I will say though, like, it's very interesting to see you moms as grandmothers now, because the things you let our kids get away with, we would never. Oh, have another treat. Here's
always say we
more
should have
snacks.
had
Some
grandkids
snacks
before
when you get
kids.
home.
That's what
Well, we had our
grandmothers do.
grandkids before we
Yeah.
had their
Yeah,
kids.
yeah.
Yeah.
Spoiled rotten.
Well,
But
we can
no.
hand them over and leave. So.
Yeah. I think something else, I'll just say this. I hope I say this to Pat all the time, and Jess, I think you're probably the same, like, and to what you spoke about before, Mom, I hope as our kids grow, we're the house that the friends gather at. Like, I really
Yes.
want to be the house where the
I pray
friends
that every
gather
day.
at.
Mhm.
And Mom, you did such a good job of that. Like, everyone that I grew up with has a story about my
Cat.
house or about Mom, like
Mhm.
calling Cat, they
Cat.
call her like Cat.
Mhm.
And it's like,
Colin Fairbairn.
yeah, like some of my friends, I'll get home and Mom's like, so and similar to your story about Daniel, Margaret, like so and so's in the basement. We're not doing so well. Or like,
Yeah.
you know, I put them a blanket, but like you should check on whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Or like calling you to pick you up. I think that relationship you were able to have with us, I admire. Yeah. Yeah.
We usually end every episode with a what would you rather, but first I just want to like offer the floor. Is there any final thoughts or things you want to say about like parenting, like any final advice, like anything, like,
In honor of Mother's Day,
yeah, any final thoughts?
for all the listeners out there, what do you got for
Like
them?
at the end of the day, like when you go through all your challenges and struggles and parenting, like when you look back on it, is there anything you wish you did more of now, knowing how quick the years go by? Or
Just being important to be with your family.
yeah,
And you know, because you don't know what can happen or what's in store. Like, and so being with your family and celebrating with your moms.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I can't say enough about that.
mhm.
Yeah.
That's so true.
That's so
I
important.
I've always as I said, I've always worked, and my coworkers always knew how busy I was as a mom and how involved I was in the community. And they would always say, why do you do so much volunteer work? And I said, well, I was always taught to give back in the measure you have. So for me, it's very important to be part of that community. You can't live in silos, and you need to have that enrichment of other people in your life. And yes, family is so important, but at some point you know, your family doesn't need you as much. So you have to have
Right.
something to keep contributing
Sure.
and feel like
Yeah.
you're making a
Right.
difference in the world.
I think your
So-
family will always need you though.
Well,
Mhm.
yeah, but
Will always need you.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But it's nice to be part of a community. And I think it's very important to be part of a community.
Mhm.
Do you think new moms out there listening should like, you know, find their village and like build that
Yes,
community
yes,
as much as they can? Like,
yeah, because you have
even if
to,
it's scary making friends as adults, right?
it
Like,
is scary,
you know,
but you have to have that support or bad things can happen if you don't, you know, if you're
Mhm.
not doing well and you don't have anyone to bounce things off
that's
of.
right.
Mhm. And you're right. It gives you a sense of you know, belonging and doing that little bit of peace for other people and your
Yeah,
community,
yeah.
being part of the community and developing those relationships. And
Well, let's get down to it, ladies. What parish do you belong to? I know you've been chomping at the bit to ask each other that.
oh well, I belong to Holy Cross now, but I was St. Anthony's for years. So I'm
So you have Father Norman.
and don't we love them?
Oh,
And
Father
I-
Norman.
Norman.
Wow.
So I'm
Yeah.
at St. Teresa's. And
Oh,
a
you're
quick
at
little
St. Teresa's.
in
Okay,
Sydney.
you would.
So St. Teresa's was our parish when I was born. I was baptized at St. Teresa's.
Okay.
But soon after that, actually the next year, they built St. Augustine's on Grand Lake Road, and we
Okay.
broke away from St. Teresa's.
Yeah.
And then 54 years later, St. Augustine's had to close because our community built up commercially and not as many people lived in our area. So we
Right.
closed and went back to St. Teresa's.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
And you're still called the St. Augustine group.
And we're still called the St. Augustine girls. Yeah.
Funny.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just quickly, if we're talking about stages, so Jessica and I talk about stages all the time, right? Like Jessica thrives in toddlerhood, like mayor of Toddlertown, I call her. If you're thinking of stages of parenthood,
Mm-hmm.
baby, newborn, toddler, young kids, teenage, young adults, etc., what was your favorite stage and what was your hardest stage as a parent?
And it can't be
Hmm.
when we moved out that was your favorite.
No.
Yeah.
I'm really enjoying the stage now, the young adults.
No, we're not young adults anymore.
Well, yeah,
We're old
sure.
now. Young adults is like
You're not-
late teens, early 20s. I
Well,
think.
I really like that stage.
Okay.
I did.
Yeah.
To see, you know.
I loved watching them when they were like toddlers because
Yeah.
everything was a you know, a moment for them, like when they just
Yeah.
would discover something. And I
Yeah.
guess maybe it's because of my background too with working
Right.
at the daycare
Yeah.
and watching them. Like I just like they're just in, I don't know, everything is just, oh wow.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Wonderment.
everything is just
Yeah.
like a discovery and
Yeah.
I don't know. I just love watching them.
It's interesting because that's my favorite
yeah.
stage too.
Yeah.
Yeah, Margaret was the original mayor of Toddlertown.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 Amazing. What was your most
Mhm.
challenging stage?
I think.
What are we
yeah.
in for?
Oh.
It was definitely high school, Mom. I feel
High
like we
s- I
butted
think
heads.
high
Yeah, the
school. I think
teenagers.
high
Yeah.
school because that was my hardest because they're, like I said, you're wanting to give them that little bit of freedom, but yet you don't want to give them any freedom. Put it
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
way. Like you're nervous.
fair.
Like I was just
Yeah.
always nervous and you know, and I just you know, are they going to make the right choices? And did I give them,
Yeah,
did I
that's right.
prepare them enough? And I was just always like nervous about stuff like that. And I wasn't the greatest at discussing some of the more difficult things.
Mm.
And
Jessica.
as Jessica will probably tell you a couple of really funny stories about that. You'll have to share that. with
Like, are we talking the birds and the bees? Because I
Yeah.
don't think Mom has ever had that chat with me
The book,
either. I'm
Nipping
still
Up
waiting
Wet.
for
we
it.
never had no.
We never did either.
Well,
But
they just
remember the
started learning
funny
about it in
story
grade
You
about-
two.
wouldn't talk
No,
about
we
it.
never
Are
learned
we
about
on
that
air
in
Not even
school. That's
period.
false.
Still on air?
We're still on here. Yeah, we can.
Okay, here's the funny story. My family, I have to tell it. It was hilarious. So we were
Are
in
we
the
still on
living
air?
room
On air.
watching television, and the Cosbys were on. Now I know that
Is this going to
it's a-
embarrass me?
probably, but no, we'd be all right. So Anyway, the episode, Ryan was reading the newspaper. Ryan, Jessica was probably in grade, I'm going to say 4. And he would have been like in grade 7. And he's over in the corner reading the paper. And John is sitting in the chair. Jessica's, I think she might have been sitting on the floor or whatever. So we're watching the Cosbys. So the episode was the little girl, the girl, youngest girl, Ruby, I think her name was, Rudy. She got her period. So they kept saying period over and over and over again. And she would stomp up the stairs and she was, having the emotions and all this. And so after them saying it about 4 times, Jessica said, what do they mean? She got her period. I said, she got her first pimple. Well, Ryan's reading the paper and he looks down over the paper like this, like really? And John just sits over there. He doesn't say anything. And he just,
Mom wouldn't talk about any. You didn't. I got my period.
I thought you were too young.
No, but when I got my period, I didn't know anything. Like I was just, you wouldn't talk about anything.
I know. I found that really hard until later. I got better at it. When they come home with the book in grade 7.
You said, go give it to your father to read.
So I said, no, John said, well, Margaret, you can't let her go to school without you reading it to her. I'm reading it. And so then I skipped over a couple of things and John said, Margaret, you have to read it to her. So I said, okay, here's the book. You read it. And then when he started reading it, he said, oh, for goodness sakes, they're in grade 7. Like, what are they thinking about? Using that kind of, teaching.
Yeah, heaven forbid we know that a penis is a penis.
So the next year,
not a birdie.
No, the next year they came out with a better book and I was more comfortable reading it to her.
I don't remember
I
any
read it
books.
to her and Elizabeth together.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah.
I don't remember any books.
Either. But you know what? I never had the conversation with my mother.
Yeah, but that's
I didn't. My mother didn't tell me anything.
No,
I think Amanda taught me. I don't think you ever taught me anything about anything really.
Depending on your friends to do that, I guess.
Yeah, not the route though, probably that we should
No.
have taken. But here we are. We live to tell the tale.
Yeah.
It was funny.
You survived.
We survived.
Should we do our what would you rather?
Yes.
So I'm doing a funny one because I feel like you gals can handle it.
All right. Should we do the rapid fires?
Oh yeah, rapid fires first.
These are the more meaning questions. So just pick your one or the other.
Okay.
Would you rather tea or coffee?
Tea.
Coffee.
Oh,
Okay.
you rather coffee? Wow. Red wine or white wine?
White all the way.
White.
Oh.
Would you
Yeah,
prefer
I
beer,
don't
but
know.
you'd have a glass of white if it was
Yeah,
like-
wine. Yeah. Mhm.
Okay. You ready for this? Would you rather always have bad gas or always have a really dry mouth?
Dry
Margaret's
mouth, I think.
face.
I don't know what you'd rather, but I know what I have. I'll try.
I just had.
What an ending. That's amazing. What would you rather? Dry mouth.
I don't know.
Oh
What
God.
kind of question
Oh
is
my
that?
God.
I don't like
That's-
either of them.
That's the point. You have to pick one.
Bad gas.
Oh my God.
I would definitely rather have bad gas than a dry mouth. Frig that. Having a dry mouth would be awful.
Yeah.
Bad gas, I
think?
can know it. Yeah, because your gas isn't always smelly.
All right, I guess.
It's just
But if it's
air.
bad gas, it's probably smelly.
Maybe.
Oh my God.
I'll deal with it. I'll take some Imodium.
Margaret is dying right now. She's
That's it.
sweating
That's all the
at this
questions. You're done.
conversation.
I'm done.
You survived.
That was awesome. Thank you
Thanks
for
for
joining
coming on
us
the
around the
morning
table.
meeting.
Oh, you're welcome. It was lovely to be
Now,
here.
did we do all right?
You did wonderful. That was amazing.
Yes, you did great.
Kathy,
That was awesome.
we got to meet for tea or something.
We
Coffee,
should.
Coffee.
We
We should all get together.
Yeah, we should,
sometime.
yeah.
We
Yes.
should. We should
Yeah.
all hang out. Yeah.
Someday.
Or like supper with a drink, maybe.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'd like
Who's
that.
driving? Who's driving them?
We'll get a.
Oh, we'd have to
I don't
get
know.
somebody.
The
to drive.
husband.
get someone to pick
One
us
of
up.
our husbands can show for us.
I had the last.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
It's a lot of
So
fun.
glad. That was so fun.
Well, thanks for your company.
No problem.
Appreciate it.
Bye, Kathy. It was so fun hanging out with you.
Yeah, you too.
Bye.
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 Margaret, you're a rock star. See you.
Oh, thank you. Bye. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe to our podcast and give us a review. You can find us on social media at The Morning Meeting Podcast and connect with us through email at themorningmeetingpodcast@gmail.com. Thank you for sitting around our table. Sarah and Jess.